Hello everybody, and welcome to the 5-week Secrets of the Millionaire Mind Mastering the Inner Game of Wealth book study group based on the book by T. Harv Eker. My name is Sean Adams. I'm Master Ambassador for the Midwest with Peak Potentials, and I'm happy to be presenting this seminar for you guys. I think before we get into the details of the book and start the book lessons, I think it's important to talk a little bit about T. Harv Eker, the author of Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. I'm very honored and blessed to be able to call T. Harv Eker a mentor of mine. I have learned so much from this man over time, and it actually all started with the reading of this book, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, which is why I want to take the time to go over this whole book with you guys over these 5 weeks. One of the things, so let me give you a little bit of history and background on T. Harv Eker. T. Harv Eker is the son of European immigrants. They came over to the United States with very, very, very little money in their pockets, knowing that they could come here and through effort, hard work, and their own brilliance could make a great life for themselves. And knowing that his family didn't have a lot of money, T. Harv Eker started at his first job when he was just 13. He knew that if he wanted to be successful and he wanted to have the money that he desired in his life, he needed to get to work doing it right away. He wasn't going to be able to rely on his family for that support. So as a teen, he took on multiple different jobs that he could do, as is true with many of his folks that are from his time period. He was delivering newspapers, he would scoop ice cream at an ice cream shop, he was selling novelties at different fairs, he even was selling suntan lotion at the beach. And this drive and this motivation to make money on his own and to be kind of a self-made businessman also led over into his early adult years when he had the joy and the ability to start numerous different businesses. These businesses, some went okay, but none of them had tremendous success. He didn't really have his first real success until he started a retail fitness store, which then led to multiple retail fitness stores, which he was then able to sell part ownership of this group of fitness stores for a large sum of money, making him a millionaire. And he was very excited to have made his first millions. And but the problem was that through some bad investment and not necessarily the best spending techniques, he actually went from a millionaire back to having nothing in just 2 years. And so what he came to realize was that there must have been something else missing other than the ability to make money. He knew how to make the money, but he clearly didn't know how to keep the money. He came to understand that the inner money thermostat that each of us has inside of us is set for a specific range, and that no matter what we do, we're going to end up back in that range. If your thermostat is set for low and you win the lottery, eventually you will end up back at low. And so he started to come and understand that he needed to make sure that he changed how his mental thermostat was set. And that's kind of what brought about the Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, was that changing the internal mental thermostat changes the success that each and every one of us has. So using the principles and practices found in this book, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, T. Harv Eker was able to reset his own blueprint to not only create success, but to keep his success and grow it. And now he has become a millionaire many times over, and it's because not because he gained more skills on being able to make the money, which I'm sure he has, but it's because he changed his own internal mental thermostat to be set for higher, so that he is always a millionaire in his mind, and therefore he will always be a millionaire in his life. That's the key. It's always about setting your mind to where it is that you desire and wish to be. So to start the book out, the first section has a wonderfully creative title of Who the Heck is T. Harv Eker, and Why Should I Read This Book? And so that's what we're going to cover today. Today's aspect of the book teaching is really going to just kind of go over that first section of the book, help you understand a little bit more about the book, how it came about. And to start the book, Harv starts with a very interesting thing that says, "Don't believe a word I say," which may be a bit unusual to start a book out telling people to not believe a word that the author is saying. But he says it from a very intelligent and strategic perspective, because he has a recognition that he has only the ability to speak from his own personal experience. I can only give you my impressions and teach this book from my experiences with the book. He can only have written the book and given you the teachings in the book from his own personal experiences. And that's important because the ideas, the thoughts, the concepts that are in this book are not inherently true or false, are not necessarily right or wrong. For some people, these concepts and insights may lead them to becoming a millionaire, and for some people they may not. It's just, but for what I can tell you is that for myself, for T. Harv, and for thousands and thousands and thousands of other people, these concepts, these insights have led to results that, to me, prove they are effective. So my experience, so I can only speak from my experience, but my experience is the lessons, the ideas, and the concepts in this book are beneficial. And if you use these principles, as we'll go over these 5 weeks, you can and will transform your life for the better. So it's all about making sure that so my experience is this is beneficial and will help to change your life. So that's what we're starting out with, but that's why Harv says don't believe a word he says. All he can do is share his perspective. So let's start with the important thing, your financial blueprint. All of us have our financial blueprints are all set at a different point. Some of us are set to be millionaires. Some of us are set to just be able to get by. Some of us are set to be comfortable. I'm pretty sure that somebody like Donald Trump's blueprint is set for at least a millionaire and probably a billionaire. I think if his net worth was just worth $1 million, he would not be happy and know that he is not where he should be. And it's important to know that it's okay that your financial blueprint may not be set where you'd like it to be, because there's a lot of things that have occurred around us and to us that help to set our financial blueprint where it currently is. The first one, of course, is childhood influences. What did we learn as we were kids? What did we learn? What did we hear? Did we hear money doesn't grow on trees? Did we hear we can't afford that? Did we hear that, well, you're going to have to work hard in order to have the money you want? Did you hear that only people who are lucky make money? You have to have luck to be able to be successful. There's a lot of different messages and things that we hear on a daily basis as children that over time kind of set our financial blueprint to be somewhere. The other side of the coin that affects our financial blueprint and affects where our financial blueprint is set right now are self-defeating thoughts. And those are the internal stories we tell ourselves, or as Harv likes to say, the mind frick that goes on. And it's those little things that, oh, I'm not good enough, or I haven't been able to make the money up to now, why should I this time? And these non-supportive thoughts, these non-supportive ways of thinking, can be the most detrimental to our success and can be what's keeping our mental financial blueprint where it's at. And so I think it's important to now talk about what we're going to cover over the next 4 weeks of this program. So this week we're going over just general overview of the book, what's going on. Next week we're going to really delve into what is called part 1 of the book. And I want you guys to know that we're doing this strategically. We're following the book in order and we're breaking it off into parts because I want to make sure that each time we process something, you have enough time, you have that week to not only have read the stuff, prepared, understood it a little bit, but also as we go over the teachings and I give a bit more clarity on each aspect of the book, that you guys are now able to reflect on that a little bit more, internalize the lessons, really come to own them and realize that what you're learning, what's being covered in this book really does have the ability and the power to truly change your life. So next week we're going to talk about and explain how each of us is conditioned to think and act when it comes to money. How do you think and act when it comes to money? What's conditioned you that way? What has caused you to talk about that? And we talked about some of that with the childhood influences, the mental mind frick that goes on. And we're going to go into more detail next week in part 1 of that book. We're also going to talk about the 4 key strategies for revising our mental money blueprint. So not only are we going to realize where our mental money blueprint is, how we got there, what's occurred, what caused it, we're also going to heavily look and explore the concepts of what are the 4 key strategies that we can take in order to change our mental financial blueprint so that we do become the success that we want and that we are wired to think and become and act like the millionaire or the billionaire that we wish to become. And then the next 2 weeks after that, we're going to be talking about what is part 2 of the book. And this is when we're going to get into a little bit about the actual actions and behavior and the tasks that we can specifically do to really rewire our brains so that we think differently and we think the way we want to, so that our mental financial blueprint actually rises to the level that we believe we know it can and should be. And so in order to get there, one of the first things we're going to talk about, and this will be in week 3, is really looking at the differences between how rich, middle class, and poor people think. Rich people think differently than middle class people and than poor people, and that's what makes the difference. If they're not luckier, they're not special, they don't have more connections, it's because of how they think, and they think differently. And then we're also going to go into the 17 different attitude and actions that we can take to make permanent change in our mental financial blueprint. That is a huge thing, and that's going to be extremely beneficial for all of us. We're going to go over, over 2 weeks, we're going to explore each of those 17 things in detail, specifically one by one, how to do it, what are some things we can learn, what are some things that we can take to do action. Because remember, it's all about what we know, what we don't know, and how can we make that adjustment. If you're not doing as well as you'd like, then there's something you don't know. And I'm thinking one of those things you may not know right now is all about the mental financial blueprint and how to change that. So some of the simple basic things you need to understand are most rich people think in similar ways. Harv took a lot of time talking to rich people, working with them, and realized that all of these rich people think in similar ways. They all have similar approaches to thinking about money, to thinking about success, to thinking about all of the stuff they can achieve. And I know I talked about this again before, but I want to re-emphasize it. Rich people really do think differently than poor and even the middle class people do. And if we can get you thinking like rich people, and we can get you to understand how it's different and start implementing that thought process for yourself, you then start to move into that realm of being a rich person. When you think like a rich person, you can become a rich person. The mind is actually one of our biggest challenges. How we think, what's going on in our mind, is often the biggest obstacle to our success. And I know that if we can change how we're thinking, if we can change what's going on in our mind, we can then change the success we're having and become the success that we want to be. So the Millionaire Mind Intensive, and I want to make sure I take a little time talking about this, Harv discusses it in the book as well, is a 3-day course which, if you go to millionairemindforfree.com or MMIforfree.com, you can get a free complimentary ticket to this 3-day live seminar, where it's you in a room with hundreds of other people who are working to reprogram themselves, change that mental financial blueprint to be successful. So if you go to millionairemindforfree.com or MMIforfree.com, you can get that ticket for free. This Millionaire Mind Intensive, this 3-day intensive course, began as what Harv called the Street Smart Business School. He understood that he had some ideas, he knew how to become successful in business, and he didn't learn it from school, he learned it from being on the ground, starting his businesses from 13, working hard. And what he realized are there's 2 aspects to being successful in business. One are the tools. You need to know how to manage your money. You need to know how to hire the right lawyer and does it need to be an LLC versus a corporation, all of that stuff. But he also realized those are the external things, the outer game. The inner game, that mental game, is the toolbox. And if you have a leak in your toolbox, you cannot be successful. That's what the MMI is all about. It's about reprogramming your toolbox so that has no more leaks and you're ready to go. Because once you fix that inner game, that toolbox, you get that Midas touch. You see those people who instantly things seem to always work out for them and everything works well. It's because they have their inner game, that mental game, working correctly, and that's what we're going to work on. Josh Billings says that it's not what we don't know that prevents us from succeeding. It's what we know that just ain't so that is our greatest obstacle. So it's not just about learning all these new techniques, but a lot of the time at the Millionaire Mind Intensive is going to be spent unlearning Unlearning those old patterns from childhood. Money doesn't grow on trees. Sure it can. Why can't it? Money takes hard effort. Does it really? Can't money just take ease and grace and be simple and flow to us gracefully with joy and happiness? It's about unlearning just as much as it is about learning. So once again, that Millionaire Mind Intensive, that 3-day course, once again, just go to millionaireMindForFree.com or MMIForFree.com and you'll be able to get your free ticket. And I want you guys to be able to trust me in this stuff. This is what I'm doing. I want to share this with you because I know it changes my life, and I know it can change your life as well. And Harv tells this great story about our hesitation at times to trust, the obstacles that might present themselves and prevent us from being able to trust to take that next step. So he tells this story of this man who's just walking along the cliff, and he slips and he falls, and just as he's falling over the edge, he's able to grab onto this tree branch, and so he's hanging over this giant cliff, holding onto this tree branch for his life, and he's holding on, and he's holding on, and he's holding on, and he's hanging there, and he's calling for help. Won't somebody please help me? And he's getting tired, and his hands are getting a little tired, and he's getting a little weaker, and he calls out louder, someone please, please, please help me. And he knows he's almost at the edge of his ability to hold on. And he's getting really, really tired, and he screams out one more time, won't somebody please help me? And all of a sudden, he hears this big, bellowing voice from the sky. This is God. I can help you. Just let go and trust. And the man's holding on. And this is where we all have our own little issue, and it always pops up, and we're worried a little bit. And so the man's response to this is there anybody else up there who can help me? And the idea is that sometimes I'm not comparing myself or Harv to God, but what I'm saying is that we sometimes have that struggle of wanting to trust and believing that the information out there can be beneficial and can help us. And so the lesson I want you to take is if you want to move to a higher level of life, you have to be willing to let go of some of your old ways of thinking and being and adapt to new ones. And that's what we're going to be covering over these 5 weeks, is where are you at? What are your old patterns, your old ways of thinking, your old behavior that has led you to where you currently are? And what is it, some of the things that we need to change? And we will change those things actively over these 5 weeks to get you to your brand new money blueprint. So next week we're going to cover that money blueprint. So for next week, I want to make sure you guys have read, studied, and are prepared to really think about pages 9 through 48 of Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. It's what I'm going to cover in next week's call. We're going to have fun. We're going to go into some of these details. We're going to explore a little bit of what got us to where we are mentally now, as well as just explore a little bit of why rich people think differently and how we can think differently as well. So make sure you have those pages read. When you registered for this online course, you received your free PDF of the book, so you have the stuff. Make sure you have it read, get ready for the teaching, and keep your eyes open for the email from me. I will be sending an email out with the information for the next call. And as always, feel free to leave comments here on this page or through MillionaireMindForFree.com on the contact page there. I'd be happy to answer any of the questions you have, and I look forward to talking to you next week. Thanks, everyone. Be well.